This week at the Madlanga Commission, a single whispered claim, hinting at a foreign intelligence hand in local security failures, cut through the room with a chill so sharp even seasoned officials shifted in their seats. The afternoon session opened with a surprising shift, a reference to a supposed crime intelligence leak that, upon closer inspection, didn't behave like a leak at all. Instead of a chaotic spill of information, the details appeared selective, almost curated, trickling out in a way that suggested intention more than accident. Counsel questioned how such specific pieces of intel reached certain journalists while others stayed buried. For the first time all week, even the commission's researchers started trading notes, trying to trace the strange symmetry in how the story had unfolded. When the next witness took the stand, their nerves were visible in the hurried rhythm of their answers. They spoke quickly, as though trying to outrun their own thoughts. Midway through a response, they mentioned an operation no one had asked about, an operation previously believed classified. Counsel froze. The witness realized too late what they'd said, their face shifting through panic and calculation. The commissioner instructed them to slow down, but the damage had already occurred, leaving the gallery buzzing with speculation. Later, discussion turned to a safe house, referenced in passing, an address said to have been used only once and then abandoned. But satellite records and surveillance logs suggested activity continued there long after official files claimed it was decommissioned. Counsel leaned into this contradiction, asking how a location supposedly closed years ago still generated routine movement data. The witness hesitated, claiming oversight or outdated record entries. The pause between their sentences stretched long enough to make the room shift in their seats. An intelligence analyst, calm and precise, delivered a line that seemed harmless at first. Operational gaps rarely occur by themselves. That single sentence reframed the entire narrative of the week. Suddenly, testimonies that sounded like isolated errors began to resemble pieces of a larger, interconnected story. The analyst walked through timelines with unnerving clarity, pointing out inconsistencies that had slipped past earlier witnesses. By the end of their appearance, the commission seemed to regard the week's evidence through a completely different lens. Friday morning began with a clash of timelines submitted by two departments claiming to describe the same event. One placed the critical decision at 09:12. The other insisted it happened at 14:47. Neither timeline allowed room for the other to coexist. Counsel dissected both versions, questioning where the discrepancy originated and how such a significant gap could have gone unnoticed for years. The longer the discussion went on, the clearer it became that someone's version of the truth simply could not stand. Financial analysts returned with updated tracing on funds that had appeared benign earlier in the week. After deeper analysis, the money trail narrowed unexpectedly to 3 individuals, each connected through completely separate procurement processes. Counsel asked for clarifications, but the explanations grew more tangled with every attempt. What once looked like a mundane set of payments now seemed coordinated, not by scale, but by timing. And timing, in a commission like this, often carries more weight than the amounts themselves. A routine question about departmental coordination led to the discovery of a meeting no one had declared in their affidavits. The moment the date surfaced, several witnesses' earlier statements began to wobble. The meeting had occurred on a day previously described as uneventful, yet notes from a staff member revealed discussions of sensitive intelligence allocations. Counsel pressed for explanations, but memories blurred conveniently, leaving the room with more uncertainty than answers. The silence between responses grew heavier with each question. The final witness of the segment was an intelligence officer known for precision and restraint. They spoke with the calm of someone who had nothing to hide, or who had rehearsed enough to ensure nothing slipped. But midway through questioning, they referenced an instruction from a superior whose name had not appeared in any formal document submitted to the commission. The sudden mention triggered hurried note-passing among counsel, and a request for adjournment followed within minutes. The room felt as if it had stepped onto a new, unexplored path. Today, we break down a week where CIA rumors surfaced, kickback allegations twisted into unexpected shapes, and a crime intelligence memo flipped the entire rhythm of testimony. And hidden inside it, all is one detail that stunned even the Commission's own researchers. Before we dive in, ask yourself this. If a foreign agency truly influenced a local intelligence structure, would it leave a trace? Or would we only see the damage long after the decisions were made? Drop your instinct in the comments. Your answer might align with what emerged this week. It started with a question so soft it almost dissolved in the air. Could foreign hands have nudged our intelligence apparatus during its most vulnerable years? That whisper spread fast. By Tuesday, legal teams were exchanging glances each time a witness paused too long before answering. The allegation wasn't formal, not yet, but its presence shaped the mood, an invisible pressure shifting the weight of every sentence. Even the commissioner leaned forward more than usual, sensing the atmosphere recalibrating around an accusation no one wanted to say aloud. Midweek, a bundle of documents landed on counsel's desks, ordinary at first glance, except for one entry buried deep in the chain of payments. It was small, almost negligible, until someone noticed that the same amount surfaced in two unrelated procurement files months apart. The commission paused as forensic accountants explained the anomaly with the calm of people used to seeing strange things. Suddenly, witnesses who'd appeared relaxed were adjusting ties, sipping water, glancing at notes they swore were unnecessary minutes earlier. Patterns rarely reveal themselves quietly. Then Thursday morning hit like a slow-moving storm. A crime intelligence memo, previously described as administrative clutter, turned out to contain a line referencing an operation no one had admitted existed. The moment it was read aloud, the air changed. Counsel halted the reading, eyes narrowing as they requested the source file. Even the stenographer looked up, rare for someone trained to remain invisible. For a moment, it felt like the commission had stepped onto a moving walkway it didn't intend to board. At one point, the commissioner made an offhand remark, an observation about how certain witnesses seemed to pre-rehearse their uncertainty. It was subtle, almost playful, but the timing made it land like a brick wrapped in velvet. The gallery murmured. Witnesses scheduled for later in the day exchanged stiff nods, realizing the tone had shifted. What was meant as a small comment accidentally exposed a tension simmering beneath the testimonies. A fear of giving an answer too clean, too fast, too confident. During cross-examination, a witness casually referred to a phone call they claimed lasted barely a minute. But the actual records told a different story, 9 minutes, not one. And the number on the receiving end linked to a suspended official whose name hadn't appeared all week. Counsel requested an adjournment so fast the room barely had time to react. In under half an hour, what began as a routine clarification had spiraled into two separate lines of inquiry, both suddenly urgent. Later, an old report believed lost in departmental reshuffles resurfaced in a battered binder. The timing couldn't have been worse for the witness on the stand, who had just insisted under oath that the document was never produced in finalized form. The moment it was handed to counsel, the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Page after page contradicted earlier statements, and the witness' voice tightened as they tried to reconcile years-old decisions with the evidence now staring back at them. Friday delivered a moment no one expected. Two senior counsel snapping at each other over the phrasing of a single procedural question. On the surface, it was a technical disagreement, but underneath, it exposed a deeper frustration. Some testimonies felt overly polished, others suspiciously vague, and the pressure of conflicting narratives was finally boiling over. The commissioner had to intervene, reminding everyone to maintain decorum, though the tension already had its grip on the gallery. Just before the lunch break, a scheduled witness was delayed for over an hour. Officially, the explanation was transportation trouble. Unofficially, no one in the room believed it. Staff moved with a stiffness suggesting last-minute negotiations behind closed doors. When the witness finally arrived, their eyes avoided the gallery, and their testimony began with a tremor that didn't match their reputation for composure. Something had shifted behind the scenes, and the delay only made the shift impossible to ignore. The commission paused for the afternoon session, but the energy in the room didn't settle. It hovered, unresolved, electric, and filled with the sense that the week had only revealed the surface of something far deeper than anyone had prepared for. As the week edged toward its close, a researcher quietly pointed out something subtle. 3 different witnesses, across 3 different days, had used the same phrasing to describe unrelated incidents. The repetition wasn't obvious until the transcripts were reviewed side by side. Counsel brought this to the floor, asking whether any coordinated preparation had taken place. The witnesses claimed coincidence, yet their expressions said otherwise: tight smiles, sudden caution, measured pauses. A thread had been pulled and the fabric beneath it began to loosen. Just when it seemed the commission had reached a natural pause, an unexpected document arrived, time-stamped, unsigned, and delivered through official channels but with no author. Inside was a single allegation suggesting that some disruptions during the week weren't accidents but deliberate acts by someone inside the system. Counsel demanded its source, but no one could trace it. The commissioner ordered a sealed review. The gallery whispered, knowing the week had not ended quietly but had opened a door to something darker, something waiting behind the testimony. The room slowly emptied at the end of the final session, but no one walked out with the relaxed air of a week concluded. Instead, conversations clung to the corridors, drifting in fragments, questions about the unsigned document, the overlapping phrases, the timelines that refused to align. Even outside the building, attendees lingered longer than usual, reluctant to leave the atmosphere of unresolved tension behind. The commission had closed its files for the